Hi folks, in this demo I'll show you how easy and fast it is to replicate data from Postgres to Snowflake using PeerDB. Let's get started. To start with, I have a Postgres database with 3 tables: goals, links, and users. Each of them have around 500,000 rows. I have a Snowflake database which is empty. As you're seeing on the screen, it does not have any of these tables, right? I'll go to the PeerDB UI. PeerDB UI lets you create like your data sources in the form of peers. I already created the Snowflake and the Postgres peers that I showed you before. You can do that very easily using the UI. For example, for Snowflake, you enter the credentials, validate the peer, and then create the peer. Now let's go ahead and kick off a mirror. In the PeerDB world, mirror is what is responsible for replicating data from Postgres to Snowflake. So let me kick off the mirror. So I choose the CDC based replication, which means that it uses the Postgres's write ahead log for replicating data. I'll name the mirror as demo underscore test. I'll choose the source peer as Postgres and the destination peer as Snowflake. I'll choose the 3 tables that I was talking about: links, goals, and users. You can choose whatever columns you want to replicate and also choose whatever name you want on the destination side, which is the Snowflake side. As of now, I'm leaving it as the same name, right? I'll choose that I want to do the initial copy, which means that the initial data that is present in these tables is loaded to Snowflake and then the replication starts, right? I'll leave the rest of the options as default and kick off the mirror. Now let's go to the initial copy tab and let's see the status of the mirror, right? Let's give it a second. Okay, looks like the initial load for links finished, right? And it took around 5 seconds. Now let's go ahead to Snowflake and query the data. Now if you see, there are 500,000 rows, right? Let's see what's with the other tables. Goals started and goals finished, and it took around, if you see, 4 seconds, right? And let's query data for goals, right? And then the final table, users. Okay, as you're seeing, the initial load is going on and it's finished. So it took around 20 to 30 seconds to do the initial load of 1.5 million rows, right? And now let's go ahead and start ingesting some data, right? I'm ingesting around 5,000 rows every 2 seconds, which means that the throughput here is 2,500 rows per second, right? Now let's go to the PeerDB UI, and this should be reflected in the sync status tab as you're seeing on the screen, right? So the sync started, right? Let's give it a second. Looks like the first sync finished and it loaded around 25,000 rows into the goals table. Let's go ahead and query the goals table. And if you see, the 25,000 rows are in here, right? Okay, the second load is happening, and if you see, it is loading around 16,000 rows and it took around 21 seconds, right? So the throughput is 60,000 divided by 20, which is around 3,000 rows per second. So it is indeed catching up, and you'll see that on Snowflake as well, right? The count has increased to 585,000 rows, right? And this would continue basically, right? So overall, the throughput is close to 2.5 to 3k per second, right? And the latency on the Snowflake side is less than 30 seconds, right? So these are the speed benefits that you would get with PeerDB, right? Both for the initial copy and the change data capture, right? We also provide some metrics related to the source Postgres database. You can monitor the lag, right, of the replication slot. And if you see, the lag is very low, it's around 8 megabytes, right? You can also see the status of the uh, replication slot. What are the wait events, right? Like whether reading the replication slot is getting throttled on IO or anything. And based on that, you can, debug the Postgres database. That's it from our side. Hope you enjoyed the demo, and feel free to test out PeerDB. It's open source, so you just go to GitHub, download Docker, and get started. We also have PeerDB Cloud currently in preview, so if you wanted to test out PeerDB Cloud, reach out to us, and we would love to help out. Thank you. Bye bye.